AITA for telling my parents they successfully trained me to be an orphan at Thanksgiving dinner after they bought my sister a $540,000 condo with the family home money. I, 34M, have been staring at this screen for 3 days trying to figure out how to even start this. I keep writing and deleting. So I'm just going to say it all, from the beginning, because I need people who aren't inside this family to tell me if I'm crazy or if I've been slowly going crazy for 20 years and just now realized it. I grew up in Paramus, New Jersey. Nice neighborhood. The kind of street where every house has a 2-car garage and somebody's always power washing their driveway on Saturday morning. My parents are good people. I need to say that first because everything that comes after is going to make them sound terrible, and the complicated part, the part that's been eating me alive, is that they're not terrible. They coach Little League. They bring casseroles when neighbors get sick. My mom volunteered at our school library for 11 years. My dad once spent an entire weekend helping a stranger from church fix a broken furnace in January. They are generous, kind people who, for reasons I have never been able to fully understand, decided somewhere along the way that my younger sister Danielle, 28F, needed more from them than I did. Not consciously. I don't think they ever sat down and said, "Let's give her more." It was subtler than that. It was a pattern so gradual that I spent most of my life thinking I was imagining it. I need to walk you through it. Not to be dramatic, but because the pattern is the whole point. Any single one of these things on its own is nothing. It's the accumulation that broke me. The small stuff, ages 12 to 17. When I was 14, I wanted to sign up for a summer robotics camp at Stevens Institute of Technology. It was $800 for 2 weeks. My parents said it was too expensive and that I should find something free to do this summer. I mowed lawns and helped Mr. Kowalski next door clean out his garage for $10 an hour. I made about $350 that summer and felt proud of myself. When Danielle was 13, she wanted to go to a performing arts day camp in Montclair. It was $1,200 for 3 weeks. My parents signed her up without hesitation. When I pointed this out, not even angrily, just genuinely confused, my mom said, "That's different, she has real talent and we don't want her to lose momentum." I played travel soccer at the time and was pretty good. But I guess that wasn't momentum. When I turned 16, my dad sat me down at the kitchen table and gave me what I now call the self-reliance speech. He told me that part of becoming a man was earning things for yourself. That he and Mom believed in me, and that's why they were going to let me figure some things out on my own. He said it with such warmth and sincerity that I actually felt honored. Like I was being trusted with something. I got a job at the ShopRite on Route 4 bagging groceries. I saved for 7 months and bought a 2004 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles on it from a guy in Hackensack. The power steering whined every time you turned left. I loved that car. When Danielle turned 16, they bought her a 2016 Hyundai Tucson. Brand new. I remember standing in the driveway watching her scream and jump up and down, and I looked at my dad, and I will never forget this. He looked at me and said, "She's not as resourceful as you. She needs the help." I was 18. I nodded. What was I supposed to say? College, ages 18 to 22. I got into Rutgers. Not my dream school, but a solid choice, and in-state tuition made it reasonable. My parents told me they'd help where they could, but that they expected me to take out loans and work part-time because that's how you learn the value of a dollar. I worked at a campus dining hall sophomore through senior year. I graduated with $47,000 in student loans. I was proud of my degree. I was proud I'd worked for it. Danielle got into Syracuse. Out-of-state tuition. About $58,000 a year when you factor in room and board. My parents paid for all 4 years. Every cent. They took out a home equity line of credit to cover part of it. When I found out, not from them, from my aunt who let it slip at Easter, I asked my mom about it. She got very quiet and said, "Your sister wouldn't have been able to handle the stress of working while studying. She's more sensitive than you. You were always our tough one." Our tough one. I want to sit with that phrase for a second because it's the engine that drove everything. Somewhere along the way, my parents decided that I was strong, capable, resilient, and Danielle was fragile, sensitive, in need of protection. And the sick thing is, they turned it into a compliment directed at me, so that any time I tried to point out the imbalance, I was essentially arguing against my own supposed strength. It's a trap you can't escape from. If you complain, you're proving you're not actually as tough as they said, which means you're letting them down. So you just keep swallowing it. I swallowed it for a very long time. Post-college, ages 22 to 30. I moved to Jersey City after graduation. Got a job in IT project management. Worked my way up. I'm now a senior PM at a consulting firm, and I do well. Not wealthy, but stable. I pay $2,100 a month for a one-bedroom apartment near Journal Square. I drive a 2019 Mazda 3 that I bought used and paid off last year. I have about $19,000 left on my student loans. I am, by any reasonable measure, doing fine. Danielle moved back home after college. Lived with my parents rent-free for 3 years. Eventually got a job doing social media management for a small marketing agency in Morristown. Nice enough job, but not high-paying. She started dating her now fiancé, Tyler, around 2022. Tyler's an okay guy. Works in pharmaceutical sales. Not the point. During these years, I noticed my parents continued to supplement Danielle's life in ways they never did mine. They paid her car insurance until she was 26. They gave her grocery money. When her apartment's lease was up and rent went up $200, they covered the difference for 6 months. None of these things were secret exactly, but none of them were announced either. I just find out in passing. A comment at dinner. A Venmo notification Danielle accidentally screenshotted in a family group text. I never said anything. I'm the tough one, remember? The house. $540,000. My parents' house, the house I grew up in, the house where my height was penciled on the laundry room doorframe, the house with the cracked basketball hoop in the driveway that my dad and I put up when I was 11, sold in April of this year. They'd been talking about downsizing for a while. The neighborhood had gotten more expensive, property taxes were going up, and with both kids out, they didn't need 4 bedrooms. Fine. Made sense. They listed it and it sold in under 2 weeks. $540,000, which is actually a bit under market for that area, but they wanted a quick close. I didn't think much about the money. It wasn't mine. I figured they'd use it to buy themselves a smaller place and bank the rest for retirement. That's what normal, rational people do. Then in June, I got a call from my mom. She was excited. Giddy, almost. She told me that she and Dad had found the perfect wedding gift for Danielle and Tyler. They had used the proceeds from the house sale, minus closing costs and their realtor's commission, so roughly $480,000, to buy Danielle a 2-bedroom condo in Montclair. Cash. No mortgage. I was sitting in my car in the parking garage under my office when she told me this. I remember the exact moment because I was holding a cold cup of coffee from the Dunkin' on Newark Avenue, and I squeezed it so hard the lid popped off and coffee went all over my center console. I said, "You did what?" My mom said, "Isn't it wonderful? They'll have no mortgage payment. They can really start their lives off right." I said, "Mom, what about me?" And there was this pause. This long, hollow pause. And then she said, and I am quoting this verbatim because it is seared into my brain, "Oh, honey, you already have a stable life. You've always been so good at taking care of yourself. Danielle is just starting out. She needs the boost." I sat in that parking garage for 45 minutes after we hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, and for the first time in my entire life, I let myself add it all up. Every camp I didn't get to go to. Every dollar I earned while she was handed the same thing for free. The car. The tuition. The years of, "You're our tough one." And now $500,000, the physical, tangible entirety of my childhood home, given to my sister as a wedding present. And I still have $19,000 in student loans. I didn't say anything for months. I pulled back from family stuff. Didn't answer group texts right away. Skipped a few Sunday calls. I was processing. I thought maybe if I gave myself time, I'd find a way to be okay with it. I told myself all the things you're probably thinking right now. It's their money. They can do what they want. You're an adult. Let it go. I couldn't let it go. Thanksgiving. So here's where I might be the asshole. My parents are now renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Ridgewood. The whole family came to Danielle's new condo for Thanksgiving. The condo that used to be the house I grew up in equity form. Walking through that door was an out-of-body experience. It's a nice place. New appliances. An open floor plan with these big windows that look out over a little courtyard. Danielle had decorated it like something out of a West Elm catalog. There was a grateful sign above the dining table. I almost laughed. Dinner was fine at first. Turkey, the usual sides. My Aunt Linda was there, my Uncle Rich, a few cousins. Normal Thanksgiving noise. Danielle was showing everyone around the condo, pointing out the built-in bookshelves Tyler installed, the breakfast nook, the bathroom with the rainfall showerhead. People were oohing and awing. My mom was beaming. Then, after dinner, my mom pulled me aside in the kitchen. She was drying a serving platter and she said, I'm so glad you came. I know you've been distant and I want you to know, we notice. We miss you. I said, thanks, Mom. Then she said, we're planning a housewarming party for Danielle and Tyler in January. Just a small thing, maybe 30 people. Your dad and I were hoping you could help organize it. Maybe contribute to the catering? We're thinking of using that Italian place in Montclair, Luce. It's not cheap, but it would mean so much to your sister. She said it like she was offering me an opportunity. Like this was a gift she was giving me, the chance to help celebrate the thing that had been quietly destroying me for 6 months. I put my glass down on the counter. I remember the click of it against the granite. And I said, very quietly, very calmly, Mom, you and Dad spent my entire life telling me I was the strong one. The tough one. The one who didn't need anything from you. You let me work for everything I have while you handed Danielle everything she has. You sold the house I grew up in and gave her the money without even asking if I might need help too. I still owe $19,000 in student loans. I rent a 1-bedroom apartment. And now you want me to help pay for a party celebrating the fact that you gave my sister a $500,000 condo. Do you hear yourself? My mom started tearing up. She said, that's not fair. We've always loved you both equally. And I said, and this is the thing I can't take back and I'm not sure I want to, I said. You spent 30 years training me to not need you. Congratulations. It worked. You successfully raised an orphan. The kitchen got very quiet. My dad had walked in at some point during this and was standing in the doorway. Danielle was behind him. I don't know how much they heard. My mom put down the platter and walked out of the room. My dad looked at me and said, that was cruel. Then he followed her. Danielle didn't say anything to me. She just looked at me with this expression I can't describe. Not angry, not sad, something closer to confused, like she was seeing me for the first time and didn't recognize what she was looking at. I got my coat and left. My Uncle Rich followed me out to my car. He's my dad's brother, retired, lives in Tom's River. He stood there in the driveway with his hands in his pockets and said, for what it's worth, I've been watching this for years and you're not wrong. But that was a rough way to say it. I said, I know. He said, don't apologize for being right. But maybe apologize for the delivery. My cousin Megan texted me that night, dude, you made Aunt Carol cry on Thanksgiving. Just let it go. It's their money. I didn't respond. Update 1. The week after Thanksgiving. The family group chat went silent for about 4 days after Thanksgiving. That never happens. Usually there's a constant stream of my mom sharing recipes, my dad posting photos of birds from his morning walks, Danielle posting pictures of whatever she cooked for dinner. Nothing. Just a dead chat for 4 days. Then my mom sent a long message. I'll paraphrase it because it was rambling, but the core of it was, this family has always been built on love and support. Your father and I have always tried to be fair. We're hurt by what was said on Thanksgiving and we think everyone needs to take a step back and reflect on gratitude. She didn't name me. She didn't reference anything specific. But everyone knew. My Aunt Linda responded with a heart emoji. Megan responded, love you, Aunt Carol. Danielle responded, love you, Mom. I didn't respond. My dad called me the following Tuesday. It was a short call. He said, your mother hasn't slept in 4 days. Whatever point you think you were making, was it worth that? I said, Dad, was any of what I said untrue? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, we did what we thought was best for both of you. You turned out great. That proves we were right. I said, no, Dad, it proves I turned out great despite you, not because of you. He hung up. I sat on my couch that night in my apartment, the one I pay $2,100 a month for, in the city I moved to by myself, in the life I built entirely with my own hands, and I thought, am I the villain here? Did I ruin Thanksgiving because I'm jealous? Am I a 34-year-old man who's angry he didn't get enough presents? Because that's how they'll frame it. That's how they always frame it. You're the strong one. Why do you need help? Why do you need acknowledgement? Why can't you just be happy for your sister? And I don't have a clean answer. I don't need the money. I mean, I could use it, my God, of course I could use it, but I wouldn't starve without it. What I needed was for them to see me. To see that not needing help and not deserving help are two completely different things. That I earned everything I have because they gave me no choice, not because I didn't want them to care. Update 2. Early December. 2 weeks of silence. Then Danielle texted me. Not in the group chat. Directly. I almost didn't open it. I sat there looking at the notification for 20 minutes while I ate leftover pad thai from the place on Bergen Avenue. Her text said, "I've been thinking about Thanksgiving non-stop. I was really angry at you at first. I thought you were trying to ruin my moment. But I've been talking to Tyler about it and he said something that stuck with me. He said, 'Has your brother ever gotten the same things you got?' And I started trying to list the times and I couldn't. I couldn't think of one. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not giving back the condo. But I want you to know that I didn't ask for any of this and I didn't know it was happening the way it was. I thought they helped you too. I thought they helped us both equally and I just didn't see your help because it happened when I wasn't around. I'm finding out now that there was nothing to see. I don't know what to do with that yet, but I'm sitting with it." I read it 4 times. I didn't respond that night. I needed to think about what to even say. The next morning I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I'm not angry at you. I never was. And I don't want the condo. I want Mom and Dad to admit what happened. That's all I've ever wanted." She responded, "I don't think they're capable of that." I think she might be right. And that might be the hardest part of all of this. Update 3, mid-December. My Uncle Rich called me. He told me he'd had a conversation with my dad, his brother, over coffee. He said my dad was genuinely confused by my reaction. That, in my dad's mind, every decision he and my mom made was logical and justified. Danielle was less equipped for the world, so she needed more support. I was more capable, so I needed less. In their framework, the inequality wasn't unfair, it was responsive. They were giving each child what they needed. And here's the thing, I can almost see it. If I squint and tilt my head and try really hard to be charitable, I can see 2 parents who genuinely believed their older kid was fine, who genuinely worried about their younger kid, and who gave more to the one they worried about more. I can see how that's not malicious. I can see how it even comes from love. But $540,000 is not a sliding scale adjustment. That's not a little extra help. Buying one child a house while the other child is still paying off student loans you refuse to help with is not responsive parenting. That's a declaration, whether they intended it to be or not. Uncle Rich told me that in their conversation, my dad said something like, "We're proud of him. We've always been proud of him. He never needed us." And Rich said he told my dad, "He needed you. He just stopped asking." Apparently, my dad didn't respond to that. I've been going back and forth about whether to write them a letter. Not a text, not a phone call, a letter. Something I can edit and revise and make sure says exactly what I mean without the heat of a kitchen argument. Something that lays it all out calmly. The robotics camp. The car. The tuition. The house money. All of it. Not as accusations, but as a record. A timeline. Undeniable when you see it all together. But I keep thinking, what would the letter accomplish? If Danielle is right and they're not capable of seeing it, then the letter is just me shouting into a void. And if by some miracle they do see it, what then? They can't unbuy the condo. They can't unsell the house. The money is gone. All I'd be getting is an apology, and at this point, I don't even know if an apology would be enough. A colleague at work, a woman named Priya who I've become close with over the last few years, told me something at lunch that I keep turning over. She said, "You're not looking for them to fix it. You're looking for them to see you. And those might be 2 completely different asks." She's right. What I want, what I've always wanted, is for my parents to look at me and say, "You deserved more. Not more money, more us. And we failed you." I want them to see the pattern. I want them to understand that, "You're our tough one," was never a compliment. It was an excuse. Update 4, the holidays. Christmas was strange. My parents invited both Danielle and me to their new rental for Christmas Eve. I almost didn't go. But something about the idea of spending Christmas Eve alone in my apartment, eating takeout and watching a movie by myself while my family sat around a table without me, that felt worse than going and being uncomfortable. So I went. It was smaller than any Christmas I remember. The rental doesn't have the same energy as the old house. No fireplace. No backyard where my dad used to string lights on the oak tree. Just a standard apartment with a small artificial tree in the corner. My mom had tried to make it feel festive. Garland on the mantel, candles, the same ceramic nativity scene she's put out every year since I was a kid, but it felt like a set piece. Like we were performing family, instead of being one. Dinner was quiet. Ham, scalloped potatoes, green bean casserole. My mom talked about a book club she joined. My dad talked about a woodworking class at the community center. Danielle and Tyler talked about wedding planning. They're looking at venues for next fall. Normal conversation. Surface level. Everyone navigating around the massive, invisible thing sitting in the center of the table. After dinner, Danielle and I ended up on the small balcony together. Tyler was inside helping my mom clean up. My dad was already half asleep on the couch. It was cold, mid-30s, maybe, and we stood out there with our coats on, not saying much for a few minutes. Then Danielle said, "I talked to Mom about the college thing." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" I asked her why they paid for mine but not yours. She said, "You never asked." I almost choked. I never asked. I was 18. They told me I had to take out loans. That's not a situation where you ask. They decided. Danielle nodded slowly. "I know. I think they've rewritten the story in their heads. In their version, you chose to do it on your own. You wanted to be independent. I didn't choose anything. I adapted to what they gave me." "I know," she said again. And then, very quietly, "I told Mom that if I'd been in your shoes, I would have crumbled. I wouldn't have been able to do what you did." And she didn't know what to say to that. We stood there for a while longer in the cold. It wasn't a resolution. It wasn't even close. But it was the first time anyone in my family, anyone who actually saw the whole thing up close, acknowledged that the story they told themselves about me might not be the real story. Danielle went inside after a few minutes. I stayed out on the balcony for a long time, looking at the parking lot below and the strip mall across the street with the closed subway and the nail salon with the neon sign that flickered every few seconds. This was my parents' view now. They sold the house with the oak tree and the basketball hoop and the laundry room with my height marks, and this is where they ended up, and the money went to a condo for a daughter who, until very recently, didn't even know the full cost of what she'd received. I drove home that night on the Garden State Parkway with the radio off. No music. No podcast. Just the road and the dark and the engine noise. And I realized something that's been forming in the back of my mind for weeks, maybe months, maybe years. I'm not angry anymore. I was angry. I was furious. But somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the anger burned down to something quieter and harder. It's grief. I'm grieving the family I thought I had. I'm grieving the parents I thought I was going to get. I'm grieving the version of my childhood where the favoritism didn't happen, where the tough one narrative was just a phase and not a permanent classification. I don't hate my parents. I don't want to punish them. I don't want Danielle's condo. I want to have had parents who said, "We sold the house, here's $240,000 each, we love you both equally, for real this time." I want to go back and have my dad say, "Let's go pick out a car together," when I turned 16. I want my mom to have said, "Of course we'll help with tuition, you're our son." I want those things and I can never have them, and no letter, no argument, no Thanksgiving speech is going to change that. Update 5, now. It's late March. Here's where things stand. I wrote the letter. Not the angry version. Not the detailed timeline version. Something shorter and harder. I told my parents that I love them. I told them that I have spent my entire adult life feeling like I was loved less, and that while I understand they may not see it that way, the evidence is overwhelming and unavoidable. I told them I don't want an apology for the money. I want an acknowledgement that the pattern existed. That, "You're the tough one," was a story they told themselves so they wouldn't have to feel guilty about giving Danielle more. I told them that if they can't acknowledge that, I will always love them, but I will not be able to be around them the way I used to be. Not out of spite. Out of self-preservation. I mailed it in January. Priority mail. It's been almost 3 months. My mom responded 2 weeks after receiving it. She called and left a voicemail that said, in part, "I read your letter many times. I don't agree with everything, but I hear your pain and I'm sorry you feel that way." She said she wants to talk. She said she loves me. "I'm sorry you feel that way" is not an apology. I know that. You know that. But it's also, I think, the most she's capable of right now. Maybe the most she'll ever be capable of. Do I throw away my relationship with my mother because she can't give me the exact words I need to hear? Is it enough that she tried, even if she got it wrong? My dad hasn't said anything. Not a call, not a text. Uncle Rich says he read the letter and got quiet. I don't know what that means. My dad is a quiet man in general. Quiet is his default setting. Is this silence pain? Is it stubbornness? Is it the silence of a man who knows he's wrong and can't figure out how to say it? I don't know. Danielle and I are closer than we've been in years. Not because the condo situation is resolved, it isn't, but because for the first time, we're being honest with each other. She told me she's been in therapy since December, partly because of all this. She told me her therapist pointed out that being the favored child comes with its own damage. She was never allowed to struggle, never allowed to fail, never develop the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle difficulty. She said she envies me for that and knows how twisted that sounds. I told her it sounds exactly as twisted as me envying her for being loved in a way that was visible and tangible. We laughed about it. The dark kind of laugh where you're either going to laugh or you're going to lose it. She invited me to her wedding. She asked me to do a reading at the ceremony. I said yes. I'm still paying $2,100 a month in rent. I still owe about $18,200 in student loans. I still drive my paid-off Mazda 3. Nothing about my material situation has changed. But something else has changed. I stopped performing the tough one. I stopped pretending I didn't need things. I told my friend James that I was struggling, and he showed up at my apartment with a six-pack and sat with me for 4 hours on a Tuesday night and didn't try to fix anything, just listened. I started seeing a therapist, a guy named Marcus who operates out of an office above a dry cleaner in Hoboken, and who, in our third session, said something that cracked me open: "You didn't fail at getting your parents' love. They failed at distributing it." I think about that every day. Am I the asshole? For what I said at Thanksgiving? For the orphan comment? For making my mom cry? For refusing to contribute to a party celebrating the monument to my own erasure? Maybe. The delivery was harsh. Uncle Rich was right about that. I could have said it differently. I could have waited for a private moment. I could have written the letter first and skipped the scene in the kitchen entirely. But was I wrong? Tell me. Because I genuinely don't know anymore. Edit. Thank you, everyone. I posted this at 2 a.m. expecting maybe 15 responses, and I woke up to this. I'm reading every comment. Some of you are sharing your own stories, and they're gutting me in the best way. I don't feel alone for the first time in a very long time. I'll try to respond where I can. For those asking, no, I haven't gone no contact. I'm in what my therapist calls low contact with open doors. I respond to my mom's texts. I pick up when she calls, which is about once every 2 weeks now. My dad and I haven't spoken since Christmas. I'm not ready, and apparently neither is he. Edit 2. Okay. Something happened this morning that I need to share because it changes things, or at least it adds a new layer. Danielle texted me. She said she was cleaning out some boxes from our parents' old house, stuff they'd stored in her condo's second bedroom closet, and she found a folder of financial documents. In the folder was a printout from 2012 showing that my parents had started a $529 college savings plan for me when I was born. They contributed to it regularly until I was about 12. The balance when contributions stopped was around $34,000. There's a withdrawal record showing the entire account was cashed out in 2014, the year Danielle started high school. Danielle's 529 was opened in 2010, and the contribution amounts are significantly higher. She sent me photos of the documents. I haven't called my parents about this yet. I'm sitting here looking at the photos, and my hands are doing that thing where they kind of vibrate, like the rest of my body is calm, but my hands didn't get the message. They saved for me. They started saving for my education the year I was born. And then they stopped and cashed it out, and I don't know where that $34,000 went, but I can guess. And they looked me in the eye when I was 17 years old and told me I needed to take out loans because that's how you learn the value of a dollar. I need to go for a walk. I'll update when I can.